In our top story this hour, Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan will this weekend present the ANC National Executive Committee with a detailed report on the progress made in dealing with the challenges faced by state-owned enterprises. The NEC is holding its meeting in Irene Pretoria. Cosatu is among those calling for Gordhan's resignation following the load shedding that took place before January 13th. Well, President Cyril Ramaphosa had said last year that load shedding would not occur before that date. Meanwhile, the EFF has threatened to disrupt next month's State of the Nation address if Gordhan remains in office. ANC spokesperson, that's Pule Mabe, says although the issue of SOEs is indeed being discussed, the future of Gordhan is not on the agenda. Well, Samkele Maseko is a senior political reporter. He's been tracking this story closely for us, and he joins us on the desk now. Good afternoon, Samkele. Thank you so much for your time on the SABC News Desk.
Very good afternoon to you.
Samkele, you just heard from the Ahmed Kathrada Foundation in the last hour and then veterans' pronouncements on this. They haven't for the first time come out in support of Minister Pravin Gordhan. And this perception now that those who want to remove the minister are enablers of state capture, who also want to remove President Cyril Ramaphosa himself. Can we, at this stage, Samkele, really interpret this as an attack on the president himself?
Well, there will always be that attack on the president, looking that there was no outright winner at the ANC's National Conference. You've got two opposing factions, one at the Union Buildings and another at the 6th floor at Luthuli House, which is effectively the SGO office. So those tensions will always be there, and you will always have those political ramblings within the governing party. The issue of the attack on Minister Pravin Gordhan as a direct attack, also the ultimate attack on the president. It's no secret that Pravin Gordhan played a pivotal role in the election of President Cyril Ramaphosa as ANC president due to the fundraising that he was part of the CR17 campaign. He's one of the allies of the president when it comes to the National Executive Committee of the African National Congress, and also in government. He's part of the economic cluster due to him being the Minister of Public Enterprises, in charge of all the state-owned enterprises under his jurisdiction. So it's no surprise that he's being attacked, but his space is essentially being seen as the stumbling block to some of the state-owned enterprises, and in particular Eskom, by those who want to have an influence on what happens into the power utility, looking at that there's so much business aspects that may be there in the power utility Eskom. But the reality of it all is that, due to the own admission by the Deputy President, is that this current Eskom board has failed when it comes to the core business of the day, which is energy generation. They've gotten the corporate governance right, which is what Mr. Pravin Gordhan is essentially good at. But when it comes to energy generation, they've not been able to keep the lights on in the country. We've seen stage 6 load shedding, which was unprecedented last year, which the President had to cut his trip short when he had an official working visit to Egypt.
Yes. Samkele, of course, a whole lot of focus on Minister Pravin Gordhan. And he has been accused of not being able to resolve, like you say, the energy generation issues at the power utility, which is its core function, all right? But can we hold a single minister responsible for what we know are really long-running woes at the power utility and other SOEs as well, some of which he clearly, obviously inherited?
South African politics is a paradox, if one may say. During the era of former President Jacob Zuma, there was a lot of flack on him as the head of state. There was a lot of flack on the Ministries of Finance, on the Minister of Higher Education. So there needs to be political accountability in the country. Obviously, you can't hold Minister Pravin Gordhan solely responsible for the dysfunctionality of energy generation at Eskom. It's a long-standing issue of the power utility. Remember, sometime in one of the elections, there was a policy, keep the lights on at all costs. Minister Gordhan wasn't at Public Enterprises at the time. It was a different minister. If I'm not mistaken, it was Minister Melusi Kigaba at the time during those elections, when it was basically keep the lights on at all costs. So it's the issue of maintenance at Eskom, and that maintenance dates back to the 4th administration, going into the 5th administration of former President Jacob Zuma, and now the 6th administration of Ramaphosa.
Samkele, I do apologize. I'm going to have to ask you to hold that thought for us. We're going to come back to you in just a little while. For now, let's cross